Fuck. Ty, I hate Sundays.
Why do you hate Sundays?
I'm just kidding. I like them a lot.
I was looking so forward to this.
You were wondering if I actually hated Sundays for a second.
Well, I was like, why?
Because my liver is basically just getting kicked in the dick.
And you know what? Sometimes livers like that. So
Elaborate.
So sometimes your liver's like, man, can you kick me in the dick? I need to feel something. Like they're just sitting there, not really processing much, and then they get that liquor like, ooh, I can work. I got something. I got a job. We are paying the liver's rent, Betty.
Okay, so what kind of person is a liver in real life?
If I were to personify the liver, I would say the liver is...
Like a pantomime?
I wouldn't say a pantomime. I was
just hoping we could get pantomime squeezed into this episode.
And you did. Congratulations.
Well, you do what you have to do.
I want to say the liver is from Jersey, who is just looking for the next job. Where it's like, bitch, I can't suffice on this child support. I need money. And then we give him a job. Hey, can you filter out this alcohol? Or like, bitch, I was born for this.
Wait, do New Jerseyans not like unfiltered alcohol?
They do. That's why it works.
Oh.
They want the job. Like, I'm born to filter alcohol.
We either just gained 1-1 fans in New Jersey, or we lost 1-1 fans in New Jersey. Well, it is another Sunday.
It is.
And you know what that means? My kitty's now fast asleep. I can pour myself a glass. But too many shows on Netflix are trash. It makes me want to pass. I can't figure out what to watch. What am I supposed to do? Let's get drunk and rewatch cartoons when we were little dudes. Whiskeylodeon.
Y'all, I cannot wait for you to meet our guest.
What is this, Beauty and the Beast?
It could be. It's a Disney musical.
Well, also there's a bit of a Stockholm Syndrome element here because our guest knows that he's not going home after this.
He's staying. Like, the entire goal of this episode is to get him shit-faced.
And comfortable with his captors.
Yes.
Like, I think, we forgot to tell him all of this in the front end, didn't we?
He's finding out now.
Did you give him the packet that we give our guests?
I didn't.
I didn't either, because we don't print things anymore.
No, it's all digital.
Also, we don't want our captors to know that they're, captives. So, this is fine. We can cut all this for legal reasons. Oh, you know what, Ty? the delete button broke.
No.
So here we are.
Yes.
With our guest. He's a dear friend of mine. Just kidding. He's a dear friend of ours, Ty.
Yes.
This is this the first neutral?
Yeah, this is the first friend that's both of our friends, legitimately. We've never been his roommate, so we can't claim that as oh, well, now they're my friend more.
That's true. Do you want to do a little intro for him?
All right, yeah, let's do it.
What are you feeling?
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you're not the sexy one. Neither am I.
Yes, you are.
Well.
All right.
Oh, you wanted me to?
So you start.
Okay. Well, everyone. Today our guest is a dear friend of ours. He's a filmmaker. He's a director. He's really good at pretty much everything. He knows a lot about whiskey. He's been climbing some fake rocks with me lately. He's been climbing some real rocks with his family lately. And we're going to talk a lot more about his career today and why we decided to do some episodes today with him. Everybody, Daniel Hamby.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, thank God. Oh, my God. Guys, they say it's a green room, but really, all it is a small green box that they just keep you in forever.
Yeah, but I got to say, dude, that gag looked great in your mouth.
Oh, my gosh. Listen, they say you're a guest, but it's captives. It's your captor, okay? So you have to...
Okay,
if they ever invite you, you have to run. You have to run.
Hey, bitch. We gave you whiskey.
Yeah, are you really a captive if you are given whiskey? Probably.
If you're drinking, is that really a captive thing?
Yeah.
Sorry,
you signed the paperwork. You may have been sleeping.
It's all consensual, everybody. Just
good.
So
we started this with some statutory jokes. Awesome. We're off to a great start.
And speaking of great starts, we got to talk about Daniel, my friend, or I should say, our friend.
Yes.
You came to us with an idea for a cocktail.
I did.
Yes. Why don't you tell us about this cocktail?
Okay, so what's special about this cocktail? Well, there's a lot of things that are special about this cocktail, I think. So I'm a bit of a cigar smoker myself. So I've been kind of experimenting a lot with whiskey, trying a few different things, and I really wanted to do a cigar smoked whiskey. So this is 4 Roses small batch here, smoked with the Mark Twain Riverboat cigar.
Ooh.
So that's the whiskey that's in it. And then I sent Ty this hacking whiskey cocktail written by Aaron Goldfarb.
And when he says he sent Ty a hacking whiskey cocktail, he means a
screenshot.
Oh, not the hardback book that we're looking at?
He literally he's got the hard book there, but he just sent me a screenshot. Hey, this is the recipe. Get the rest of the ingredients.
Oh, I thought he sent you a book.
I wish he did.
You're more welcome to borrow this.
Yes,
dude.
our guests should be sending us things.
I love this book. If you're a whiskey drinker, you should definitely check it out.
So it's called Hacking Whiskey by...
Aaron Goldfarb. I wish
cool.
I was making up that last name. I'm not.
No, I had a teacher named Professor Goldfarb. It could be him.
It has smoking, blending, fat washing, and other whiskey experiments.
And fat washing is not what it sounds like.
That is not where you get up under one's fupa and clean it with soap.
It could be.
It could be.
I mean, that's what I interpreted it as, but the way the book describes it, no.
Oh.
But yeah, so this cocktail, we have changed a couple things.
Yes.
So we're going to call this the Avatar.
Did we first backpedal?
Okay.
Did we do Daniel justice with his intro? I feel like I said like he climbs rocks and he makes movies.
Well, so no. So Daniel is an award-winning writer, director, and filmmaker.
Stop it.
No, I want to keep going.
He's going to keep going.
I want to keep
You're
going.
our captive. When you say stop, we go.
That's not the safe word, buddy.
Well, you know what the safe word is.
No. The problem with the safe word is none of us know what it is.
We forgot to sign that part, I guess.
No, you signed it. We just didn't read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Apple terms of agreement here on this
That's
podcast.
true. It was a long term in services.
Yeah, it wasn't even digital. It was actually a hardback book that we gave you, unlike what you gave us.
Hardback book. Some reason that made me think of hardback whale.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well,
Did you conflate hardback with humpback?
Yes.
That's
I do that
amazing.
often, very often. You're gonna see, I'm gonna mix up all these names. This
is going to be fun.
Oh,
This is
it's
going
gonna
to be
be so
fun.
much fun.
Yeah.
But going back, bring it in. You have seen his work with the award-winning Mayor, Writer's Block, and currently we're expecting the next installment of your work, which is called...
In the Dead of Light is the next one.
Ooh, I like that name.
Very supernatural sci-fi. I like to call it a Twilight Zone thriller personally, just because it sits on the edge of what is our reality and what is not. So yeah.
Now, when you're writing and creating, what do you typically find yourself drawn towards?
I'm drawn to a lot of things, honestly, but I think it depends, right? I think a lot of times it's like a sense of awe and wonder. Those are the type of stories that tend to draw me too, which is why we're covering what we are covering today. But I think. But overall, I really just like to being drawn to stuff that's entertaining. I love to entertain people and make them forget where they are in the world and kind of bring them into experience of their own. So that's my jam. That's why I love storytelling, and that's why I love experiencing stories as well. So.
Well, we love working with you. It's pretty cool. We've been looking forward to this day for a long time. It's really a podcast where we just bring our
How
friends
long?
in. Oh, you
It's
called
been
us
several months.
You called us a few minutes ago, and you're like, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And we're like,
If you had to compare it to a
"Come on
physical
upstairs."
object,
I would say it's like a spiralatic dodecahedron.
ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the shape of the universe, bitch.
Oh,
That actually felt like a good bitch this time.
I did.
Did you? You're not offended.
I
I'm
felt
not.
it.
That
I
Yeah,
felt offended,
you
but
felt-
that was probably intended.
That's fine. We want our guests to
It
feel
was not intended
offended
to be
here.
offensive. It was intended to be dramatic.
Yeah, I think that's the shape that I come up with. I don't know about Ty, and I don't even understand the question, but I liked it.
Well, he said if you can pick an object to depict how long we've been wanting to have him on this, I'm going to say a bottle of wine.
Oh, fascinating.
It takes that time to ferment. We've been wanting it. It was planned, and it just took time for that carbonation to build up. Except there's no carbonation in wine. I don't know what I'm talking about.
See, this is
Sparkling wine, maybe like a.
It was like a non-alcoholic beverage when you called us to be on this podcast. Just kidding, we called you. Well, it's really exciting. I like hanging out with my friends and just drinking whiskey and talking about Nicktoons, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But Daniel, I think you got to talk about. Ty usually does this part, and I think he will jump in. But Daniel, what is happening in this goblet of deliciousness?
Well, sorry,
He's got to pull out the book.
I have to pull out the book. I'm sorry. Basically, if you ever buy this book, which you should, the cocktail is called Death and Taxes. Sorry, I need to find. It has like a peach simple syrup in it. I know that it has a Blanc. What's it called again?
It's called Ferment Blanca.
Ferment Blanca, which I've never had
then
before.
Lemon juice.
Yeah.
So Ty, do you want to talk about the everything but the whiskey, and then dish it over to Daniel to talk about the whiskey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to go extra. So I didn't just do a peach simple syrup. I did a peach ginger puree simple syrup. So basically, I took some peaches, blended it up in a food processor, and then it's equal parts the peach puree, water, and sugar. And you're basically cooking that down to reduce and to kind of get the sugar melted. But I also grated some ginger into it. And then from there, you just strain, that's the word, strain out the liquid that becomes the simple syrup. And then I'm going to use that actual pulp, that puree, to make some popsicles for my little one.
Did you put whiskey in those popsicles?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need him to sleep more, man.
So you do that just like in a pan or something, or like what?
Yeah, in a pan. You just let that reduce a little bit.
Okay.
Let it simmer for about. I did it for about an hour.
Okay. I've never made a simple syrup yet, which I've been very curious to try personally.
It's a lot of fun. So typically, it's basically equal parts water and sugar, and you're basically letting that reduce to where it starts to get a little viscous because the sugar's starting to caramelize and thicken the water. To flavor it, you're just adding these different. You can add aromatics. You can add different flavors. I mean, it's the first episode we did this season. We ended up doing a black sesame seed simple syrup to make a black sesame old fashioned, and it was amazing.
Oh, that does sound amazing.
Did we pair that with a food?
We did.
What was? Oh, the apple crisps. Nope, I'm conflating now.
No. We did that with the cashew buttercup, dark chocolate cashew buttercup.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. Oh,
this is delicious, too, by the way.
I'm almost done with mine, and we have not even got to the end of the description.
The peach is definitely there, but I do taste a little bit of that ginger, too. And usually, like, if I see anything peach flavored, I immediately go, that's going to be the most disgusting thing on the planet.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah. Like
I feel
peach
seen.
yogurt? What the hell?
I feel like people get offended when I'm like, I don't really love peaches.
I like peaches on their own, but like just anything peach artificially flavored is disgusting.
But this does not taste artificial.
Not at all. It's very delicious.
Ty's the least artificial person I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I also love peaches.
And that's why you're a complex character, which we'll get into.
Complex.
Throughout the series of this podcast until we get canceled.
Until we get canceled because
Next
of liver
week.
problems or y'all say, no.
Is that how that's going to end?
I don't know. No one knows.
How do you think this podcast is going to end?
I feel like it's going to end because either A, one of our livers fails, and then we're not getting enough support on Patreon to cover the transplant.
So basically what happens is we try this podcast out, our livers fail. It's not death we're worried about. It's the podcast doesn't continue on. It's the death of the podcast. Is that what it looks like?
That's what it looks like to me because I love doing this. I love hanging out with you.
Oh,
I love
it's
hanging out
great.
with our friends.
And in case you guys are wondering, like what we do before the podcast, we all sit outside and we pretty much just hang out. We talk about anything that doesn't have to do with the podcast.
And they beat the shit out of their guests and make them
with
submit.
whiskey. Yeah, multiple whiskeys.
Yeah. The goal today is to get Daniel shit-faced. Sean and I have never experienced this.
No.
So typically, Sean and I will have like a glass of whiskey first just to get us started. Oh, no, we did it. We did 2.
Today is going to be, go back and listen to Let's Get Weird Part 2 of Season 1. I'm already feeling like we're on that wavelength.
Yes.
So
And it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm an accidental drunk usually.
I've never seen you drunk. I've never seen this before.
I don't usually pursue it personally, not because like, I'm not down to have a good time or anything like that. It's mostly just like the aftermath is horrible. For me at least, headaches, throwing up. It's just it's awful. So
welcome to Whiskeylodeon.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So, basically, but
Tell us about this cigar smoke infused whiskey.
I will.
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So
There's Ty keeping us on track.
It is the Four Roses small batch, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, which is delicious on its own, of course. But basically, I've used the Mark Twain Riverboat cigar to infuse it with, which has a Connecticut and Maduro wrapper. So it kind of has like this like barbershop style looking shaft. Sorry, that's the
I
only word
love
that's gonna
getting my
describe that
shaft
with.
trimmed at a barber or a shop.
Yeah, but I just liked the flavor of it. It's very balanced, which I think went well with our theme today. As far as flavor goes, it kind of has some light tones, has some dark tones to it. But also with the show we're talking about today, it's like obviously it's both very Asian influence, but I feel like it also has a lot of American influence as well, especially Western and even like I don't know what you call that area Mark Twain was in, like the Mississippi River like era of America, like element to it.
And Ty, what show are we talking about today?
We are talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Ladies and gentlemen,
By
it
M.
is
Night
here.
Shyamalan.
No! Don't you dare.
I thought Daniel said he was going to be the one who got pissed off if I mentioned it.
We're-
We both were.
Well, yeah, it's more like seething, quiet anger, which I realize is not the the most open for a podcast.
That's great.
but
Yeah, like we're just going to sit in silence. You're going to feel our anger.
I just
radiating.
stop talking, and then it's like it ruins the podcast.
It's total.
Well, I haven't seen it. I don't have
Don't ever
intentions
watch
of
it.
seeing it,
Don't.
so I can't talk
Don't.
shit about something I don't know.
No joke. And I don't say this lightly because I'm a filmmaker. I realize how hard it is not only just to make a great movie, how hard it is just to make a movie. Mm-hmm. This is like the only movie experience I had where I walked out of and go like, not only did you phone it in, but you just like did a garbage attempt at making a movie to the point of like I lost a little bit of respect.
Do you
for
think it
people.
has to do with the idea that there is really, really good source material in front? Like if you didn't have that source material and this movie was it standalone?
No, it's still
It's
been
still-
Standalone,
it's
it'd still
bad.
be garbage.
Still on its own.
But the fact that they had such good source material to work with, and
and still fucked it up.
it's like they almost had to like try to make it as bad as it is, which I just don't honestly, what I think it is, I think he just like thought he could just phone it in and make it, and it was garbage. Which
This wasn't one of his original projects, so he didn't feel like he had to invest. They're
This
like,
was the
well,
first one that he did that had source material, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything I've heard of his is
he's
original.
made some amazing films. Don't get me wrong. Like Signs is great. Sixth Sense is like one of my
iconic. Yeah, of
the
course.
best movies. Period. But like this was just like
I think he's made
most
2 great
garbage.
films.
what's
Personally.
some other stuff he's made.
Unbreakable. I'll give him credit for Unbreakable.
I like Unbreakable a lot. I liked Glass. No, not Glass. What's
You're
the other
talking
one?
about
Split.
Split.
That was really good. But I've liked a lot of the other stuff he's done. But
And that's our
he's made some
podcast,
garbage.
everyone. We just wanted to talk about M. Night Shyamalan. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we're going to have a different captive.
And I do want to be clear too. Like, there's people that probably
Ty's
worked on that
face right
film.
now.
I'm sitting there like, ooh, let's not end on a low note, buddy.
Oh, you think the podcast is going to end in 19 minutes?
That's what you were trying?
I do want
Oh,
to be
man.
clear. I respect a lot of the artists that did work on that film because I'm not saying that a lot of those people were trying to make a great movie, but it just had really poor leadership.
Well, the
Yes.
good news is we are going to talk about a brilliant show that you guys both are familiar with in your childhood that you got me hooked on in my I was going to say late adulthood. I don't know if that's fair.
Late adulthood. Sean
maybe,
is in his 75s.
Yeah. And I'm super excited to talk about this. Like when you guys first brought it to me, I was like, honestly, I was anxious because like this is homework. Like I have to go and watch a whole series to get caught up. And I just want to say thank you deeply to both of you for telling me about the show. Like it has been a wonderful experience.
Well, I gotta ask, because since we're not talking about the M. Night Shyamalan movie, we're talking about the series by Michael Dante, DiMartino, and Brian Konietzko. Sean, what is it like as a new person seeing this for the first time? Like, what has that experience been for you?
Well, I know we've had these conversations about like it is a kid's show. It is doing something in the world building universe where I think a lot of shows nowadays have been unable to accomplish. And not to compare it, but just watching it from really, I think things start picking up after like the third episode. I think you guys both told me like, hey, just get to episode 3 and I promise you'll be hooked. And I mean, I liked it 1 and 2, like they're perfectly fine, but that's where I remember saying like, oh, this show, while it's built for children, it has a lore that is entertaining, of course, but there's a lot of philosophy behind it. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I just adore it so much, man.
Yeah. It takes a little bit to get going, but once it's going in all cylinders, it's like, I mean, it's rated as one of the highest shows on IMDb.
Well, it's a true hero's journey that, I mean, I love the hero's journey.
Well, you can think about it as any other show that starts. Typically, you have the pilot, and it's engaging enough for you to want to watch. But oftentimes, if it's the first episode, it's kind of like there's room for growth. And so it was super enjoyable. But then once that third episode hits, like once you get to Kyoshi Island, and you're like, oh, this hits really hard.
Which I think was going to be the
slaps.
episode we were going to cover.
Yes.
But instead, what episode are we going to talk about today?
We're actually going to be covering The Library. This is season 2, episode 10.
Now, Ty and Daniel, can you guys give
No.
like it's okay to say no.
So, as you were saying before, you were really
super
interrupted.
derailed. You know, love it.
I love it. Well, I was hoping that you guys could help refresh me and our audience a little bit about the show up until this point.
So, you have, of course, the Avatar. You have the Fire Nation. Everything was balanced and fine until the Fire Nation attacked. And you have this war that's going on for almost 100 years. And when the world needed Avatar the most, he vanished.
It's almost like you made all that up on your own without any like intro to the show.
I feel like I could really tell a good story.
The cool part is that Ty did not read that. He remembered the whole intro.
Yeah.
And
Ty's never even seen the show. He just
No.
is like making it up.
yeah, he's a big fan of the movie though.
Yeah, huge.
You can fuck off. All right.
You can fuck all the way
You
off.
want to know the Avatar movie I'm going to love watching? The one that's going to be coming out that is written and directed by the creators themselves. They're
No.
literally creating an animated movie
Oh,
of the Avatar. They're actually
okay.
creating 3 movies,
Oh.
but the first one's going to feature the original cast of Aang and the gang.
I thought you were going to talk about the Netflix show. I was like, no, they kicked him off that. thing.
No. They left that. They
Yeah.
were not kicked off. They were like,
Oh,
all
they
right,
left.
we're gonna wash our hands of that. So I'm not sure what to expect from the Netflix series. I will give it a shot just because like it's still a property that I really enjoy.
I have hope for it.
I
you
have
know.
hope. But the creators ended up making Avatar Studios and went back to Nickelodeon. And so they are now working on 3 movies. One of them will be based on this universe that we're looking at right now. And I say universe, this time period where it has like Aang and the gang.
They're doing a Zuko movie, right?
I don't know if it's a particular Zuko movie. It just has the original people. I know one of
Okay.
them is supposed to be of Avatar Kyoshi.
That's right. So what I've heard is it's the first one's Kyoshi, Avatar Kyoshi. The second one is a movie about Zuko, and the third one is about Korra. That's what I've heard.
I'm totally down for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know who survives at the end of this one.
Well,
That actually no. That
they
doesn't
haven't
give me
specified
anything.
when it takes place.
So unspoiler alert, we're only going to talk about what happens up until the end of the library because both Daniel and Ty know that that's as far as I have seen.
Everyone died. Just kidding.
So we have these 4 nations, and they each have what element, Ty?
So you have earth, air, water, and fire. And they each have the ability to bend that respective... okay, let me rephrase that. They don't each. You have benders of those tribes who can bend that respective element.
Now, is there something special, like, how are you born into... You're just born, and you might be bending, and you might not be.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
And so you could look at this where you have people that were born of 2 different bending parents, and each kid might have a different bending. Like, they may not have the same bending. Like in The Legend of Korra, which is following this. And this is not a spoiler so much as it's just a description of the characters you'll be introduced to. You have these 2 brothers. One of them can firebend, the other one can earthbend. But they're brothers because one parent was an earthbender, the other one was a firebender.
You only get one.
You only
typically.
get one. Typically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unless you're the avatar, master of all 4 elements.
And you get all 4
Yeah,
because of the description.
yeah, it's in the job description for sure.
Yeah, it's there. He didn't apply for this job, though.
He was born.
No,
in
it was definitely a chosen
Yeah.
thing.
He was born in it, bred by it.
He's born into it. A century ago.
Cover your mouth like this. You merely adopted the dog. I was born in it.
I was born the Avatar.
We give the... Wait, what's he say? He says, we give Gotham back to you, the people.
It sounds
my voice,
like
my Bane voice is horrible.
you underestimate my power.
It sounds like Sean
It sounds
Connery had a stroke.
Well, you can't have a stroke when you're dead. So, Ty,
So, this episode, the summary, a professor leads the kids to a spirit library in the middle of the desert where Sokka hopes to discover secrets to use against the Fire Nation.
Ty, who's Sokka?
Sokka is the brother of Katara. These are siblings who were the ones who actually discovered the Avatar 100 years after he had vanished.
And they are from the Southern Water Tribe?
That is correct.
Right.
Good
Okay.
job.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm trying.
And you're doing a great job.
We definitely did not study this before this episode over whiskeys on a picnic table in the backyard. 100% did not.
And there was 100% not like flip cards, index cards to try and test them.
I got to hand it to you, Ty. You suggested that we should untie Daniel for that part. And we
Yes.
did, and it went so well.
Yeah.
He only slashed at us like 2 to 3 times.
And then he goes, "Oh, you brought whiskey," and then he was fine.
And yes. Listen, listeners.
I want to see where this is going.
Well, he is tied up currently right now because he got a little violent back there.
Not my hands, though.
Just his dick.
I'm gonna eat my Louisville vegan jerky buffalo dill
yes.
with my.
Talk about
This
this.
is good.
Talk about this because typically what my goal was to whenever we have a cocktail, just enjoy the cocktail. Whenever we have a whiskey by itself, to pair it with food.
So we're bending the rules,
Yes,
if you will.
good
Yes.
job. You're a rule bender.
Yeah, we're rule bend. That's all we are. We don't have any powers. Fucking
But to
podcast
rule
benders.
So tell me about this jerky because it pairs really well. With
It's
this cocktail.
buffalo dill. So it's soy based. I think that it's like a little spicy.
Aang would love that.
What part?
That's vegetarian. Or
That's plant based. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's plant based. It's all plant based, and I think the spiciness kind of complements the smokiness of this beverage.
Yeah, I need a refill of the cocktail.
Oh, dude, me too. This makes me feel so much better.
So yeah, so this is what I was saying before. Is this is the secret? If you want to get me drunk, is a good cocktail.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, because I forget how alcoholic it is, and then I'm gone. That's how it happens on accident.
And it's delicious. Like I've never had Fernet Branca, but it's herbaceous. It's like sweet and also bitter, and then also it has like the baking spice in it. It's almost like getting like menthol and mint in it.
Yeah.
While also like getting like something like a baking spice.
I was not sure at first. Like, I think both Ty and I go, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But
Well, it turns out. Well, okay, no, we thought the cocktail was interesting because I didn't add enough whiskey. Like my ratio was
that
off.
was, the ratio was off.
But to have
then
just the Fernet Branca, it was like, oh my.
you can't just drink for now. You cannot just have that on its
Oh,
own.
you would die.
Well,
Not with that attitude.
all you have to do is be on this podcast every week, and then don't worry about Fernet Branca.
Yeah.
You will die.
So here's I'm very curious how long you both will live.
Well, I want to hear from our listeners. Do you think we should bring Daniel on as a regular every single
God.
episode, every single week, all the time, forever, for always, forever? And that way we all go out together. Because I know, like, you die alone, but can I die with you guys?
Listen, I'm not the worst end of the genetic pool, but I'm not exactly the best either. So I feel like my liver could only last so long.
There's only one way to
before
find
you
out.
would.
Exactly.
To record a podcast, right?
To record a podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, okay. Well, we have our glasses refilled, except for Ty.
Yeah, I need to refill mine.
You looked at me
it's
like
literally
you have it with
right
you.
in front of me.
Ty's like, yeah,
Oh my
hand it
goodness.
over. I'm like, dude, I handed it over like 10 minutes ago. And by 10 minutes ago, I mean like a second. There it is.
There it is.
That's a big boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a real boy.
He is. And
So-
speaking of real boy,
Let's go into this episode.
Aang
Sean, this was
is a real boy
yes.
who has all these powers.
Can I tell you why I picked this episode, by the way?
Yes, please,
Yeah,
please
sure.
do.
Okay.
Let's just do whatever we feel like doing today. What do you guys want to talk about?
Is there something we're supposed to be
Well,
doing?
so typically I go over into impressions. Like Sean, this was.
Sorry,
so
you guys
go into
lead.
this,
I'm not
and then
the
we go
host.
into fun facts. But we can do whatever we want. So since you've already interrupted us, go ahead and finish.
No. It's okay. You
Your
guys,
dick's
you guys
already
lead the
out.
way.
Go ahead and finish.
It is.
It's
I'm
my
impressed.
airbending staff. I don't know what to tell you.
Well,
Well, that's said for the public to hear.
welcome to Whiskeylodeon.
You
do want to
go
hear.
ahead. I can hit it when
I actually want to hear your
okay,
impressions.
Fine.
So why did you pick this episode?
So I picked
Yeah.
this episode because it's right in the middle of book 2, which
Okay.
I think almost unarguably, that's really hard to say for some reason.
He did it.
It's the best season of Avatar in my opinion. That's when like Avatar has really found its stride as far as what it is. The animation is like pristine on point, whereas I feel like in book 1 they were experimenting a lot with their animation style just a little bit.
That's fair.
And like Iroh has just like dialed into like the T and has like he's not just like the bumbling idiot anymore. He's
Will
like
you
this,
talk
like,
about
wise.
Uncle Iroh for a second? Who is he?
Uncle Iroh is the uncle of Zuko, which is I guess he starts off as kind of like the villain, you know, he's trying to catch
He
the
is
Avatar.
the Prince of the Fire Nation.
He's the Prince of Fire Nation. He's trying to catch the Avatar to like reclaim his honor. He's been banished from the Fire Kingdom, and basically the Fire Lord has sent him on this goose chase of finding the Avatar is the only way to like he could restore his honor. But now he's actually presented with the opportunity to do it. So all of season 1, he's doing that. Which season 1 is great. It's technically book 1, Water. But it can get a little repetitive, right? You know, it's kind of like the same thing is happening every episode. Like Zuko almost catches him, they fight him off, blah blah blah. It's still great, but book 2, it's like the story just gets more complicated, right?
It seems like they're playing with nuance, the gray, and dabbling in how do we play with some character arc.
Exactly. It's a lot more
this is
subtextual.
when they begin to show that just because they're not Fire Nation doesn't mean they're good people.
Right. It's not black and white, which is
Wait.
pretty cool for a Nickelodeon
Sit-
show in 2006.
The way you said that sounded funny. Wait, it sounded like just because they're Fire Nation doesn't
No,
mean
just
they're
because
good people, is
no,
what you said.
Just because they're not Fire Nation, just because they're not Fire Nation doesn't mean they're good people,
And vice versa.
and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this is when you realize, like, oh, there's not a good side in this war right now.
Well, I would.
You have Aang and his gang, but as far as like the Earth Kingdom,
There's some issues with the Earth Kingdom. Yes, I wouldn't go as far as to say like the Fire Nation's in the right, or you know, but yes, it's more nuanced than just like good versus evil necessarily.
Yeah.
There is shade. There's all kinds of colors and shades of gray throughout both sides of
And
the
I have to
war.
say, like, I was a little worried at first. Like, you guys told me about the show. I'm like the first couple episodes, I'm like, okay, it's good versus evil. Like, do I have to go through this again? Like, I've seen this, but here we are, and it's so wildly brilliant how they are doing again something that some of these modern shows have not been able to capture.
yeah.
so because this is your first time, like, tell us, like, what is it that about this show that captured your interest? Like, holy shit, I'm into this. As someone in their late adulthood,
I was a big,
Very late adulthood.
very late elderly adulthood.
He's on death's door.
I was a big Game of Thrones fan. I read all the
Okay,
novels.
yeah.
And that may have been like the first fantasy novel that I really got into. and I thought it was really well written. And I think the books are really great. The show had a very, very poorly executed final season. So this kind of became like a show that I could kind of like grapple on to and experience world building in a different way that was, it's geared towards kids, but it's very digestible for everybody.
Right.
So I like the heartbeat of it. Like Aang is the heart, maybe, and then I would like to say that Toph was the reason
Toph is amazing.
I'd like to say that's the reason I got into the show, but obviously like that happened so late into it. It was okay. I'll tell you what it was.
Tell me what it was.
Sokka. I thought he was going to be just the butt end of every joke, and finally, and not finally, but like early on, they kind of like shift that, and he becomes like this character who you can actually have respect for and you really like. You see that across the board with Prince Zuko. Iroh is just constantly talking brilliance, even if he's funny sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just got to see multiple sides of all these characters with a more or less simple story. A simple story with complex characters is really all you need as a recipe. And Avatar Last Airbender has done that for me. So,
Well, because we've gotten so many stories that are the same. So the only way you can change it is by having different characters. And so to have like these complex and characters that actually grow. So that's actually one of the reasons why we wanted to cover Kyoshi's Island, because that was the beginning of Sokka changing. For him to be like, y'all are girls, you can't be warriors. And they kick his ass.
Yeah, he kind of starts off pretty sexist, right?
Yes.
You know, and you know, it's probably just a product of the culture he's in and all things like that. But the fact that he gets to see more nuance in those in the female warriors that way, and not only that, but basically kind of becomes a student of one, you know, for a little while.
My favorite part is when he goes, look, I was treating like a girl when I should have been treating like a warrior. And she goes, yes, I am a warrior.
But I'm also a
girl.
Yeah. This show has a lot of wisdom hidden nuggets in there, and that really was kind of like the turn there of like what makes this show so special.
it makes me appreciate people outside of the screen a little bit more too. I think it's hopefully making me just a better person in general. I know that sounds crazy.
No, that is the epitome of what art should be. If it makes you a better person.
Well, it's like wisdom. A lot of this show it's wisdom we know, but it's just told in a way where it reminds us so genuinely that it just helps us connect with it even more on a deep level that's universal, but also like really just helps it click in a new, interesting way.
And they hit you in all these different emotions, right? If you can laugh, cry, sit, stare, and feel the sense of awe and wonder all in, 22 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling this almost every single episode.
Yeah.
So Daniel, why did you pick this episode?
Okay. So I'll tell you the main reason I picked it.
Crunch those M&Ms, dude.
Sorry.
Crunch those M&Ms in the mic.
These are sweet tarts.
Well, I see M&Ms.
I have
you do
a lot of
sweet tarts,
snacks
too.
He's got a bunch of snacks.
Dude, he snacked it
came
up.
prepared.
All we have is a couple crumbs of
Bugles,
this
he's
jerky
got
left.
some peanut M&Ms. He's got some sweet tarts.
Listen, I just didn't want to die because that was my main goal here with all this stuff. Well, I drink whiskey.
First time I've heard Ty have an insult, and I'm like, "Oh, that actually kind of stings."
No, I drink whiskey pretty regularly, but I just don't. I usually max out at like 2 glasses. And
you don't what? Binge drink on Sundays?
With friends and talk about Nickelodeon shows.
I mean, it sounds fun to me. That's why I'm here. So
Yeah.
what were we talking about? Oh, why I picked this episode.
Yeah, why'd you pick this episode?
So when I think of like the commercials that played on Nickelodeon about this show, this is the one that like sticks out in my head. So that was like reason number one is like I just remember that commercial playing with the animation and with the owl dragon Wang Shi Tong. Yeah, Wang Shi Tong. But and there's some other episodes that stick out in my mind with those commercials too. The Swamp is one.
That's only 2 episodes before this one.
Yeah, Avatar Day. That's also another one that sticks out.
Gosh, yeah.
Book 2 really kind of is like what I think of when I think of this show because it really is just like dialed in almost to perfection. It really, not to say that book water is bad or anything like that. It's good, but like Book Earth is like that's the creme de la creme. That's like when it's real. It's the Empire Strikes Back of Avatar.
And Empire Strikes Back is
Star
a
Wars.
movie about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just do Nickelodeon here. We don't know.
They might have
I was like, oh, you could take this as like one of those Chinese kung fu flicks. Return of the Empire.
Return to the Empire.
Return of the Empire.
Well, you know,
Return of the Ding Dynasty, and it's like Qing Dynasty, but I totally just mixed that up. But whatever, it's fine.
but the other
fine. Do
reason
you wanna
too
keep
is
going, though?
No.
I want to hear you say the words. Words are good.
I'm just stuck with Qing Dynasty, which is the new Marvel movie they're going to come out with soon. I'm like, I can't talk about that. That's on Disney, not Nickelodeon.
We also haven't seen. We can't talk about things we haven't seen.
But we can talk about things we hope to see.
boobs. So
Well, we hope to see boobs.
He's got us there.
second reason I picked a library is like the sense of wonder I think a library brings is very interesting to me, and a show that like thrives on lore. You know, I think that really can it really cultivates in this episode for sure. You just feel the vastness of this world. You know, both in the spirit realm of the sense of the what am I trying to say? The
show.
Spirit realm of the show. You know, they connect a lot of dots there. They kind of give them a goal, like a ticking time clock with the is it
The solar eclipse.
The solar eclipse that's coming up. And yeah, and Toph does some crazy shit earthbending with just
this is
holding
the first time we
library
get to
up.
see, and in a second, we'll take a break, and then Ty is going to go into kind of we'll go beat by beat a little bit.
Yeah, we'll go into the fun facts.
But Toph in this episode, we see this incredible character. We see the thing that is her kryptonite.
Yeah. I think it kind of introduced some of her weaknesses, and she doesn't have a lot, by the way. I mean, like
I know when I said it, I was like, that's not even fair to compare to kryptonite.
It's almost
but-
not even quite a weakness. It's like a side, a thorn in her side.
well, it's just like no one's perfect. And
It is
even-
an
no,
obstacle in her path of being who she normally is.
right. And
Damn it,
she's such
Ty
a
always with the wisdom.
She's such a badass. They've got to do something. It's kind of like you have to have kryptonite for Superman, otherwise, like
It's boring.
yeah, exactly. I think Toph and it's back and forth between Toph and Uncle Iroh as far as who's my favorite character is. Probably leans a little more Toph, but
That
Iroh's
is
got
tough.
just some
like,
words of
we
wisdom.
all wish we could have an Uncle Iroh. But the problem is that oftentimes we need to be an Uncle Iroh to someone else.
I think the older I get, the more sentimental I get, for sure. And, occasionally I feel like my parental instincts come out. I don't have a kid or anything like that, but it's just like that being a part of someone's life and kind of guiding them in that way, like that. There's something just so beautiful about that, like a beautiful picture of fatherhood, even though he's not necessarily his father or anything like that. It's
But
just
he's
like
really the closest thing to a father
and
figure. he has.
Yeah.
and Toph and Iroh share tea in the previous episode.
Yes.
And there's a really great conversation. We're not going to get into it, but at the way end,
we'll get into it.
Toph is grateful for that conversation, and Ty, what you just said reminded me of it. She says, "Hey, maybe you should tell your nephew that you need him too."
Can I share an Iroh quote from the episode? The episode's called The Chase, by the way. I actually made a note of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
do it.
Sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights. That's Uncle Iroh. I'll change it slightly now, whereas sharing whiskey with fascinating friends is one of life's true delights. So,
And on that note,
cheers, everybody.
cheers, and here's a note from our very real sponsor.
Life is hard. Sometimes you feel like you're being forced to grow up. Or you feel that the whole world is on your shoulders. Maybe you feel like you can never catch a break. Regardless of what ails you, you need a vacation. Hi, I'm Bang Bong Hanu, your personal vacation planner at Bang Vacations. It is my mission to help tailor a vacation to fit your specific needs. Whether it's to treat yourself to an oasis or just enjoying the plains and making music with the wildlife. Even if what you need is a journey to find ancient ruins, I am here to make sure you get the most out of your chance to relax and feel fulfilled. So don't leave yourself in this mess of stress. Undress your duress and let me address your rest. Bang Vacations. The best vacations start with a bang. Whiskey.
The trifecta of things.
Whiskey.
He has not been to the Renaissance Festival.
Whiskey.
He has not been to Carowinds. He has
Whiskeylodeon.
not been to the Whitewater Rafting Center in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Why?
I don't know. I honestly, I love to go to all those things. I love roller coasters. I like Renaissance stuff. I've actually never been to a Renaissance fair. Now that I think about it. And then whitewater rafting sounds fun too.
I'm gonna say
We should go climbing at whitewater rafting.
We should when my ankle stops being a dickhole.
What happened to your
Or we
ankle?
can just go rafting or kayaking. Like, there's so much to do there.
So when people tell me like, "Wow, you haven't seen Avatar: Last Airbender," you're totally into all that stuff. How have you not seen it? That's how I feel about you and the Renaissance Festival.
I have perspective now.
And the Whitewater Center.
Maybe.
Well, he likes doing
Parts of it.
outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah, outdoorsy stuff. I brought you guys some pocket cookies.
Ooh.
While you're doing pocket cookies, can I give you some Uncle Iroh quotes right now?
Please do.
I wrote these down as I was watching some of these episodes, especially in book 2. What is
Go
going
ahead.
on here?
Sean was passing out cookies and ended up hitting his mic.
Pocket cookies.
Pocket cookies.
Pocket cookies.
Let's get it.
Is that what you call it?
They were in my pocket.
Make sure to blow off the lint.
I heard lint.
cookie.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Avatar Day, great episode as well. Which, if you don't know, a whole village basically, hates the Avatar because they killed a leader of his, and basically Aang goes on trial, all that stuff, because of Kyoshi might have killed, their leader basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's like a moment with Uncle Iroh and Zuko. Of course, Zuko's feeling pretty darn down because basically Uncle Iroh's like saying, "Hey, even if you caught the Avatar, like, there's no way they're, it's probably not going to have the same result that you're hoping for, with restoring your honor and things like that." And basically Zuko's like, "Well, then there's no hope at all," which is a dangerous place to be, obviously. And this is what his response back is. He says, "You must never give in to despair. Allow yourself to slip down that road, and you surrender to your lowest instincts. In the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength." Which I just thought was like really powerful. I think like, and give context to that story. Like basically as the Blue Spirit, he's going around like stealing a bunch of stuff from like villagers and things like that.
Yeah.
And hence his lowest instincts, right? He's kind of like, just hurting other people to get what he needs, wants really. But I feel like, I feel like we don't talk a lot about inner strength anymore, and as much in our society. What drives a person to have hope, regardless of the circumstances.
I mean, we can go in the philosophy behind that of how, like, inner strength doesn't help with consumerism in a capitalistic society, so let's not talk about it. But really, the episode you're bringing up is fascinating because, like, he originally was like, oh, like, tea from, like, the greatest porcelain pot or from just a clay pot. It's as long as the tea is great, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And so finally it gets to a point where he's sitting there, was like, trying to convince Zuko, let go of this drive to try and make ends meet with your parents. Mm-hmm. Like, stop thinking you are not enough and you have to prove that you are.
Well, a lot of that comes from like self-esteem issues that Zuko has, right?
He has been spent his entire life trying to impress his dad, just to be seen as for naught.
Because he feels that because deep down he feels he's not good enough. Like he needs the outside approval of other people, and what he needs to do is find that inner strength of going, no, I am enough. No, I am worthy of life and success.
I want to stop you right now because, Sean, this isn't going to be part of the series. It's actually part of the comics, which I'm not going to say you have to read. But are you going to be okay if I explain something of Zuko's past that was explained in the comics, but not the show?
I actually don't know about this, so I'm very. I've heard about Book Air, but
well, Do you feel like it contributes to a good conversation?
I think it does, and I think it'll help you appreciate Zuko more without having to like spoil his arc.
It kind of goes into Zuko's alone story, right? Like
Yeah.
with his mom and stuff like that. Okay.
Sure.
So basically, Zuko's mom was in love with someone else.
It's got it going on. Oh, sorry.
I mean, she does.
Oh, Zuko's mom does have it going on, though.
But she realizes that Ozai is reading her letters. So she's kind of like trying to fuck with him for like, hey, well, I'm going to like make you regret like spying on me. So she conveys that Zuko is not the son of Ozai, but the son of someone else that she loves. And so Ozai was like, well, then you're going to have your wish. I will not treat him like my son. And so here is Zuko, who has his father who doesn't view him as being his own. So therefore is not giving him the validation that he gives Azula.
That explains a lot.
So much. So now you have Zuko trying to just prove his worth to his dad. It's like, look, I am your son. Let me be enough for you. Let me be there.
Right, like him going for the Avatar is totally not. It's not
it's
what
not
he's
about
actually.
the
It's not what
Avatar.
has nothing to do with the Avatar.
No.
No, it's very much trying to prove his own worth.
Right.
And so like that is just that epitome of, I don't want to just minimize it as daddy issues, but it's very much Zuko is trying to find worth in actions instead of worth of who he is.
See, that's the thing. It's like you have to, that sense of worthiness has to come from within. Like,
Yeah.
it can't depend on outside circumstances. Otherwise, it will drive you crazy because you can't
Yes.
control what's outside of you.
And so what breaks my heart is so when at that episode you're talking about when Zuko is stealing, when I was trying to like tell him about worth and stuff like that, he was like, well, I've had an epiphany. I have an understanding. We no longer have any interest of traveling together. And that breaks Iroh's heart.
Broke my heart, dude.
Yes. But it's not one of those things where I was like, oh, no, you gotta stay with me. It's very much, he knows Zuko has to go on his own now.
well, a lot of this
to
show
find his
is
own
about
worth.
letting go.
Yes.
Which, what I love about Iroh.
And that's what a lot is about. Balance is.
Yes.
Balance is really about letting go. Stop holding on to things that are weighing you down so that you can be balanced.
What I love about Iroh is like he lets Zuko go on that journey, but he makes sure that he's in a position where no matter what, he can be there for him when he needs him.
Yes.
And that's just like such a perfect picture of like, I mean, I've never been a parent, one day maybe, but like that's what
From a parent myself, 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Being one?
Being a parent, I would not recommend having a kid.
But if you are,
But if you
As a
are,
parent, I
love your
recommend not
child
being-
and make sure you don't fuck them up.
well, I think Iroh's like a good
Is
way
the goal
of
is the
doing
goal of
that.
a parent to just not fuck him up, or from your perspective?
So from my
Or do you want them to
perspective,
thrive?
The goal of the parent is like, hey, I want you to have a better life than I did. I want you to grow stronger than I could. And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like unless I scar you for life like I was scarred for life, you're not going to grow. And so I feel like it's time for a Teddy report.
Well, as you know, here's the little theme diddly that we do for the Teddy Report for babies.
So my wife was talking about some other thing, and she was talking about how trashy it was. And Teddy just looks at me in the face and points at me and goes, "You're trashy." And I was like, this bitch, who does he think he is?
Wait,
There's a lot of context that's missing.
you want to go? You want to go first? You
Sure.
got some thoughts?
Okay, so, how do I digest this? So you're trashy.
Hold on. First,
What
and
did
I-
you What did you
So,
hear?
so,
when you,
so
when you heard him
basically,
say that?
Jenny's talking to me about something else that she thinks is being trashy.
Okay.
So then Teddy hears that, and then he looks at me and points at me and says, "You're trashy."
So your son called you trashy.
Yes, he did.
This was like the other day.
This was a couple days ago, and then I posted this on my personal Facebook, and my friend was like, "Well, you're basic." I'm like, "So you're basically calling me trash?"
How do we keep having a Teddy report? Like we should have weeks where we're able to have this segment off.
We should, but he's
He's always up to something.
He is always up to something.
He called his daddy trash. You're a trash daddy.
I'm a trash daddy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know if I feel that way about you,
Hold
but
on. Does that make me like kind of like a raccoon? I'm like a trash panda.
no, they're awesome.
Sesame Street comes to mind.
Damn. Damn. Sean just served me a cup of iced tea that was made from dirty mud water.
To be fair, he has not been drinking his mud water as fast as Daniel and I. And listeners, we hear you. We have heard that you want to see Ty a little more toasted. And here we are today. Getting him toasted.
I've gone through 2 cocktails now, and I got my side piece.
The more Ty drinks, the more he hates me.
No.
Did you guys hear that? How did you feel sincerity in that?
Sorry, they had the gag on my mouth again.
Who had the time to put the gag on him? You put the gag in your own mouth, you self-gagging little
Bitch.
Oh my God, he actually did gag himself on the mic. Yeah, I'm here for it.
What were we talking about?
Did you just look
we
at?
are
Did you
talking
hold
about
on?
the
Pause.
episode.
Pause. Did you just? Ty just looked down at his wrist to see the time, and there's no watch on your
Yeah, I
wrist.
don't have a watch on my...
Ty's really good about keeping us on track, but I beg to differ. I don't think you guys want to see us get back on track. We will.
We will.
But
But if you don't want us to,
please
talk to
donate.
us.
Talk to us through the Patreon app, website.
thing.
Yeah, that's where you basically spend some dollars, and it says, "Wow, we can build things." with
Hey,
this."
we want to help your show be better. Like, literally, if you chip into Patreon, we can afford coasters for these cocktails and drinks.
So he says that, and he's being dead serious because we need coasters.
No coasters.
We need coasters.
I was offended the entire time.
I know.
There's no
Also,
coasters. I was wondering why.
I would love to make like Whiskeylodeon coasters, like shaped like the Splat. Oh,
That would be
Would
awesome.
y'all want it? Would y'all want that? I would want that. Let us know.
Yeah, let
in the
us
comments
know.
below, to the right, to the left, or above,
Or below.
Or below.
or below,
Or diagonals.
yeah, diagonally. Let us know. Anyway,
Like
I've
diagonally.
been trying to get us back on track this whole
Slash.
time, but Ty has just been derailing the conversation.
Well, we're going to get some fun facts. Y'all ready for this?
Ready.
No.
Whiskey, Whiskeylodeon.
All right, so we're going to talk about some fun facts with the creators first. You have Michael Dante DiMartino. Actually was working on Family Guy and left the show so he can work on Avatar.
Awesome.
Yes. He also had worked a lot on King of the Hill as a storyboard artist. Then you have Brian Konecka, who also worked on King of the Hill and Invader Zim, which is also on Nickelodeon.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember that show.
And then let's go ahead into this particular episode. So this episode features the spirit owl of knowledge, Wan Shitong. And Wan Shitong is Chinese for he who knows 10,000 things, which he actually mentions
Such
in
a
the
cool
episode.
title. Such a cool title.
Yes.
Except for the plot holes later, but yes.
Fair enough. I want to hear what plot holes you are thinking of. So this episode, as well in the following episode, The Desert, originally aired as a 1 hour long special called Avatar, The Fury of Aang. And we will go ahead and talk about that when the time comes at the end of the episode.
Yes.
And then last but not least, the owl has been traditionally a symbol of wisdom and is viewed as an animal that may harbor mysteries of secrets. But the owl, in all actuality, is not very intelligent.
Huh. I didn't know that.
According to whom?
Nice.
Animal people.
Thanks, Daniel. What are you doing next week? Do you want to be on the podcast?
You get what I just said?
Oh, I get it.
Thank
I
you.
liked it.
I need to be validated. I'm like Zuko.
That's what I need, dude. I need it. Sometimes I'll say a joke, and then Ty will look away and then type on his laptop.
I do have a quote from this episode.
Yeah,
that I
go
wanted
ahead.
To say. So Aang and the gang are climbing down into the thing, and the Professor
Library?
Z?
Professor Zay.
Zay, excuse me. He looks out amongst the group. He's looking at all the libraries and the architecture and stuff, and he goes, "Look at those beautiful buttresses."
Mm-hmm. And Sokka and Aang start laughing. And he goes, "What? What's funny?"
So while it has some nuggets of wisdom in there, it also has some great dad jokes in there for you as well. So
You're welcome.
I enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we actually start the episode where Aang has a flute and is getting ready to play music, and Sokka's like, "What the fuck are we doing?"
He
We
says
should
that. He
be-
does say that.
He does. He's
He
like,
does.
we should be getting ready to fight the Fire Lord. And Aang's like, look, bitch, we have been training day and night. Day and night.
This was the exact script from the this is a transcript.
Yes. And so that's when they're explaining the whole plot of this episode is that they're all taking time to do a mini vacation. They just want to be able to take a break. It's like, look, we've been training. We know we got to fight the Fire Lord, but we also need a break.
We know we have to fuck the Fire Lord, but we need to take a break.
We need some foreplay.
Ty Longworth, 2022.
So Aang's version of a vacation is to be able to basically make music and make a gopher orchestra. So he plays music, and then you have a gopher that sings the same tune. And he's trying to make this orchestra that is honestly hilarious and amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's like
It is
whack-a-mole in airbending form.
Yes. So at that point, that's when it's Katara's turn, and she picks this wonderful, wonderful thing called
That he will look directly into
Yes.
the screen
the
called...
Misty Palm Oasis. And Aang's like, oh, I remembered that. It's amazing. It's one of the world's natural wonders. And they get there, and it's not that wonderful.
It's boop hole.
It's Boop
A what?
Hole.
Boop hole.
I don't know what he's saying, so I'm just kind of
It's a
mimicking
poop
him.
hole.
You're
I
know
mimicking each
something.
other.
Hole. It's no
an
good.
So basically, they had
I was
this,
like, wait, what are we
this
looking at?
magical contraption of ice that just kind of permeated to the land and made this beautiful oasis. It's almost melted into nothing.
Right.
So that's when they go into the shop, and as we're walking to the shop, you have what you're introduced as the Sandbenders.
I think sandbenders are pretty cool.
They're cool in concept, but
Very
this
Star Wars.
This is the first time we've... Yeah, like Tusken Raiders, right?
Yeah,
Is this
very
the first time we have crossed elements, kind of?
Not cross element. Well, they're not really
They're
cross.
airbenders, right?
They're earthbenders. I think.
Earth...
Yeah.
Well, because it feels like earth and air. To me,
Because of,
as a
because of the
first-time
tornado
viewer.
aspect of it, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ty, but I think technically they're earthbenders.
So sandbending is an alternative to earthbending style.
Yeah.
So
Because all the airbenders have been wiped out, quote unquote, other
Yeah.
than Aang for the most part.
Got it.
I feel like that would have been a good cross thing. I originally thought that they were airbenders who just specialized in moving
Yeah.
the sand.
Well, they have their little tornadoes. Holy shit. Last night I had a dream where a giant tornado was coming for all of us.
Look out the window. Is it coming?
No. Wait. It is, and this is the part where I'm supposed to yell and say everyone duck down, but I'm a hero in my dreams, not in real life. So, Ty, be a hero.
Get down!
Well, there it is. You've heard it here first. Ty is a goddamn hero.
Boobs.
Boobs. All right. So get back to those sandbenders with boobs. You have
sure-
one of them spit in front of Sokka, and Sokka's like, "The fuck do you think you are?" And the
Boobs.
sandbender smiles this very meth mouth smile.
They are kind of methy, aren't they?
Like teeth are missing. It's like, okay, dude, either you're on meth or you haven't brushed your teeth since you were born. It's bad.
It could be meth and yes and.
Yes, and it could be very much yes, and. But they go into the shop, and I originally was like, "What are they? What's in the shop?" And turns out it's a hibachi style smoothie shop.
Yo, these smoothies.
Looked amazing.
They did look good.
If we didn't do what we're doing today for our drink, we would have made these smoothies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You think they might have been alcoholic, perhaps?
He threw down a golden coin. That was one expensive smoothie.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the desert.
They are in the desert, but yeah, this guy just hibachi styles makes a smoothie, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's
Smoothie sounds really good.
Yes.
Right now.
So
well, you can't have one because A, you're tied up. B, the gag's going back in your mouth, and when this is done recording, C, it's a whiskey podcast. D, we should probably have smoothies going forward.
E, we just had a boozy smoothie a couple episodes ago.
F, it sounded like you said boobsy smoothie.
No,
You
boozy
said
smoothie.
You said boozy, yeah. I'm went with Bootsy.
Sorry, my memory is unclear. I don't remember what you said.
Gee, I'm still a middle schooler, apparently.
Well, Sokka
Well,
sees...
this is when this came out.
Sokka sees that
perfect.
smoothie. He goes, ooh, I absolutely have to have one of those. And his impatience causes him to make the other customers spill his smoothie all over Aang. And of course, the guy.
It was his fault, right?
It was Sokka's fault. Yeah, absolutely. Sokka ended up pushing the guy who ends up being Professor Zay, pushing him to where he drops the smoothie all over Aang. And Aang's like, oh, I can fix this. And
I clean up easily.
I clean up easily. And Air bends the mess off. And that's when the professor's like, oh, you're an airbender. You're an ancient relic.
Immediately starts measuring his head.
Yes. Immediately, like, as he's talking to him, invades his privacy, just measuring his head, like just taking all these measurements. And he introduced himself as Professor Zay, the head of anthropology at Ba Sing Se University. And that's when, like, they're just they're like, hey, well, we're looking for a map of a Fire Nation. Do you have a map? And the guy's like, well, I got a map, and it's a map of the desert. And Sokka's like, well, this isn't going to help. And that's when Katara's like, you have been looking...
He's like, where's the Fire Nation?
Yeah, where's the Fire... Does no one have a map to the Fire Nation? Because Sokka sounds like a dum-dum when he's, like, not being taken seriously. But the map... The
Go
map
on.
that they're showing...
Yeah.
Nothing.
I believe in you.
Sokka sounds like sake. Sake.
You ever done a sake bomb?
Ooh. I'd be down for a sake bomb.
You know what a sake bomb is?
No.
Because you're a sake dumb.
Well, wait,
Nice.
have you done a sake bomb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ty, what's a sake bomb?
Sake bomb is you take a shot of sake, you put it in a beer, and you drink it all together.
Yeah, but how do you?
sounds horrible.
But you do it at the bar.
Yes.
Right.
So literally, as soon as you drop it in, you have to chug the whole thing. Or
No, the chopsticks, baby.
What?
Okay. All right. Y'all
Apparently-
y'all know all about Avatar: Last Airbender. All right. It's hitting me. It's fine. This is autopilot mode.
We're drinking a lot of whiskey.
Yes. So basically, you put a full glass, well, maybe like a half glass of Sapporo on the bar. Mm-hmm. And you put the 2 little chopsticks on there. And on that chopstick, it holds the shot of sake.
Yeah.
And at that moment, everyone forms fists and goes, sake! And hits the bar.
So what you
With their
did not
fists.
see was Sean basically vibrating to a frequency that would have taken him to another universe, saying sake, and then apparently they hit the bar.
The glass drops into the glass, and then you take that shot.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen this,
You probably have.
but I've never done it.
The good news is it's making for great podcasting. Yeah. Are you still here?
Podcasting. It is
Listener.
very entertaining to show something visual through audio means.
Yes. Thank you. Daniel's in my universe right now. Where are you, Ty?
In this universe, where we're talking about the map into the desert.
There he is.
There it is.
Love it. Segaway. Come segaway. Come segaway. Come segaway with me.
I love that. I'm usually the one that sings, but they started singing. Like, that just makes my heart so full.
Nailed it too. Perfect.
Nailed
key.
it, yes.
Just nailed it.
But that's when you find out Professor Zay has been trying to find the Washitong Library, in which case he has not been able to find it. And Toph is unimpressed. So Washitong built this library with his foxy knowledge seekers. And as soon as he says that, that's when Saga's like, ooh, these knowledge seekers were foxy? Like, no. They were literal foxes. Yeah.
Katara
Good
corrects
joke.
him,
Yeah, it was Katara.
but at the same time, like the way what's his name again?
Zay, Professor Zay.
The way Professor Zay says it, I'm like, okay, he's not talking about foxes.
So Avatar's full of dad jokes.
Yes.
Prime example.
Prime
the Foxy
example.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's got to be written by some dads for sure.
I would imagine so. I'd imagine they would have been dads. They were young, but they were dads.
Yeah, one of them had to be.
If Ty tells any joke, is it a dad joke?
Ew.
Oh, that's philosophical.
Why ew?
Well, because I attribute dad jokes with really bad jokes,
So
and maybe that's because
I
from
have a
my
confession.
experience, my dad
I like that.
told
I
terrible
like
jokes.
the lore of dad jokes. Like I like them. I think
so
they're funny.
so pause. Okay, a good dad joke
We're not
is a
pausing.
joke that is so bad that it's funny. And the dad's clued in on that. Everyone's clued in on that. So it's like, that's what makes it funny. It's not
This
like
was just
it's not like
called
the joke
cheesy
itself
in the
is
day.
bad. It's just that everyone's laughing at how stupid the joke is.
But yeah, so Sokka was like, hey, I want to take my vacation to this library. And Top's like, hey, what about me? And it's like, well, you got to be in the group for longer to get your vacation time. Like, literally, he's saying, hey, to be in this friend group, you have to work like a certain amount of time in order to get vacation time. Whatever, Sokka, get over yourself. But
I don't know. Top's pretty okay.
Top
Hot take.
deserves a vacation.
No.
As much as she worked hard to train Aang, who was just being a twinkle toes.
I mean, she's only been there like, what, 2 weeks at this point?
But she trained him how to do earthbending, didn't he?
Ish.
She? Didn't they?
I don't know. I don't know. Toph comes in. Okay, so context, we have to go back a couple episodes, but I think like Toph comes across a little bit as a little entitled because she won't help with like the camp and stuff with like previous episodes and stuff. But then you kind of figure out that like she's so used to people taking care of her that she's like, it's almost like it's self-defense of her, like, no, I want to take care of it, I can handle myself. It's kind of like this, like, she's trying to claim her own space.
Well, we're going to get to that because she also was like, I'm so used to being coddled, I make fun of people for that.
Yes.
So, like, they're literally riding Appa to try and find the desert, and she is so bored because, of course, she can't see when she's in the air. So she like goes, oh, look, it's over there. And everyone just looks. And so they realize, wait, Toph is blind.
Is what that would sound like if I saw it.
No.
When you see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She basically mocked them. It's like, that's how it's going to sound when you finally see it, and I can't see anything.
I love Toph.
Toph is so amazing.
She's
and sarcastic.
relentless.
She is relentless. And she goes, look, before you have a chance to make fun of me for being blind, I'm going to make fun of you for thinking about me or forgetting that I'm blind.
She's a good example of like, you can be like a tough person while also like being very genuine and being, kind's not the right word, but like good-hearted.
She's the perfect example of someone who has a quote-unquote handicap, but is more capable than people give her credit for.
Her
But
intentions
More
are
capable
fine.
than most people.
because she is so capable, people keep forgetting that she actually is blind. So then they say something dumb, and she goes, did y'all forget?
Ty, you're wearing a wonderful shirt right now.
Oh, I'm so glad you called this out.
Can we talk about it?
Yes, so I am wearing a shirt that literally has Toph, Zuko, Aang, and Katara. And then it has Zuko, or not Zuko, it has Sokka saying heart. So it is like the perfect epitome of Captain Planet and Avatar. And it's amazing, and I love it. And I got it from T-Turtle. T-Turtle, how have you not sponsored us?
Who's that?
T-Turtle is this website that sells super nerdy shirts like this.
Oh, they haven't sponsored us because I asked that question.
That's fine. We're going to get them to sponsor us at some point.
Are they calling us yet?
No, but I want to call them, and we're going to make it happen.
Call Mrs. Person T Turtle.
They turtle? I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful shirt. I love it.
Well, thank you.
It's a good shirt.
So as they're getting ready to go to Appa, before this happens, that's when you find out that a bunch of sandbenders are like trying to encroach on Appa's like personal space. They're like, "Oh, you look interesting," and he goes, "Motherfuckers, back the fuck up." So they start going, and Sokka finally spots a spire, and the group heads down. Katara's like, "Well, this isn't it. We are looking for this gigantic library." But Toph was like, no, using my earthbending like powers, I'm able to see. No, this is the whole fucking library, and it's not covered in sand. We can still explore this. And that's when they have that confirmation, because you have a foxy knowledge seeker, a little fox, ends up walking up the walls into the window.
Straight up.
Yeah, just
very
straight up.
Very up.
Into the window with like a scroll in its mouth.
Yeah. It's a Y-axis fox if I've ever seen one.
And so they're deciding to go in, and Sokka's like, I will stay behind. And like,
No, not
why?
Sokka. Toph.
Toph, you're right. Toph's like, I'll stay behind. Like, why? It's like, I've held books, man. They're not anything special to me. And again, they keep forgetting she's blind. And so, like, she ends up hanging out with Appa. And they end up having a great time. Ish.
They at least hang out in the shadow of the steeple.
Yes.
Good call.
And talks to them.
I mean, you rotate like 180, you're getting sunburnt.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, they didn't have sunscreen, did they?
Not then. Sunscreen was invented by Dr. Sunsworth back after the fall of the great Avatar Empire in the great
Avatar
day of-
Empire. Jeez.
Things changed.
Is this
after-
because the Avatar is the emperor, or it's a group of people in this empire that are avatars?
Yo, this show came out 2006. This is 2022. Things changed.
Things got dark.
Yeah, sunscreen became less sunscreen.
But everything changed when the Avatar became an empire.
Can I give one positive note about this show?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we live in a world with a lot of dark, gritty, edgy stuff, which I do enjoy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think people mistake thinking that's a realistic depiction of life. But I just highly disagree with that. What I love about Avatar is like the main character is like the epitome of optimism and what it means to walk through a dark world, mind you, with a lot of hope and joy of life and positivity. And like that's kind of like what makes Aang such a strong character.
He's
and a
willing
hero.
to go the mile. Like he's willing to do what's right.
He can do what he can be tough and lay it down, but like he never loses like that positive edge of like he never loses sight of what makes life great.
Okay. I want to say he never loses hope, but there are times.
There's
where
a times
he
he's
does.
down. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
But hope is really his greatest power.
Agreed. He's definitely his strongest when he kind of exudes that hopefulness that I think a lot of shows unnecessarily miss out on. Kind of like what you were talking about. Yeah, I feel like we could use a lot more positivity in the world because I think
We could use some hope.
we could use some hope, and it's
And if you
it's
donate to
there.
our Patreon, you will give us hope.
Yes, hope comes from money. Is what Ty's trying to say.
Because hope is money.
And money is
Capitalism.
Woo. No, it's a good
No.
point though, man. I every time I watch Aang on screen, especially before like we got to this episode, I'll just say this very simply. I watch the show, even if it's before bed or during the day, I feel good afterwards.
You feel better, even though it's like, I mean, it's a pretty dark existence, but like the characters are just so positive and uplifting and inspiring. I think that's something we forget is something that's highly valuable, and we don't honor enough. I think.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think hope does not get the rep it deserves.
Yeah. And you can have hope in even the darkest of times. Again, kind of like talking what Iro said, I think hope comes from within.
Yeah.
It's the idea that as long as you can keep fighting and keep going, there is hope.
It's kind of I think it was a Game of Thrones quote. It's like you can only be brave when you're afraid.
That's a general quote, but I'm sure they said it in Game of Thrones. Maybe.
They probably took it.
But yeah,
quote.
there's something inspiring of being hopeful despite the circumstances.
Yeah.
And when it's working against you.
It's like kind of like being hopeful that by the end of this recording, we will all be sober, which we know that's not going to happen.
I'm feeling it so
but
hard
we will
right
do
now.
our best.
I'm hopeful this is a great episode.
Yeah, we're always hopeful there. Hopeful. There's no full.
Well, speaking of hopeful,
There he is.
this is the point where they bring up the professor like, oh, look at all these beautiful buttresses.
And they all giggle.
And they all giggle.
That's such a great butt joke.
It is. As soon as they land, that's when we are introduced to Wan Shi-tong, the owl spirit who comes out and like, y'all need to leave.
And Ty, we have been introduced to a few spirits at this point now, right?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the lore of the spirit world and some of these characters?
So, I don't want to feign that I am some Avatar expert. I love the series, and there's a bunch of stuff that I'll look into. From what I understand, you have the spirit realm and the material realm, and Sean is drinking his whiskey while looking so excited. Be like, ooh, tell me more. And so Wan Shi-tong apparently was able to build this library with the help of people as a way of introducing knowledge as a way of helping people progress. And now Washi Tong has become very pessimistic because people just seem to want to use that knowledge to destroy other people. And so that's very much what he says. Like, no, y'all need to leave. Humans are not welcome here. And I'm like, but we have the Avatar. He'll vouch for me. And that's what Aang's like, yeah, I'll vouch.
So his experience has been like people coming in using this knowledge to be better than something. At the very minimum, obviously.
Not even. It's very much of they want to use this knowledge to tear someone else down. It's not about bettering themselves. It's about...
No, I didn't say that. But I do mean, like, how can I be better than this other person? Because you can tear someone down by being better than them, I think. Maybe not.
So
but this one, I'm going to say no, because they're not looking at being better. They're looking at taking them when they're weakest.
Okay, so
they're looking for a weakness more so than being better.
Right, okay. So they're doing research on anyone else to best them.
Like, their goal is, like, can we find a weakness on the Fire Nation that we can exploit? Not, how can we be better than Fire Nation? How can we exploit their weakness?
Okay.
And so that's
so
very
no one,
much...
so basically, in his experience, no one has come in there to better themselves.
No.
Well, the last experience he had with humans was with Captain...
Admiral Zhao.
Admiral
right.
Zhao.
Yeah.
He was the last human that was in there.
Yeah, he went in trying to figure out how to be able to take out the Water Nation.
Yeah. And
We saw
the
how that
Northern
worked out.
Water
and they
Tribe,
burnt
yeah.
all the Fire Nation knowledge that was in that library too, which is
Right.
crazy. Yeah, I think it goes into an interesting experiment or debate or whatever you want to call it with what is knowledge. Honestly, this kind of dives into a little bit of like what is intelligence and what is wisdom. Because I would argue that Al is not necessarily the wisest, perhaps. He's more like just intelligent.
Do you want to put you on the spot, the difference between intelligence and wisdom is?
I don't know. I think wisdom is it's kind of like seeing what's best for you and also like better for the world in general. Like what's better for your community. What's like it's able to like take some of those data points maybe and like apply them in a way that's
So
if
are you
you're actually
saying-
wise,
are you saying
like bettering
wisdom
them.
is only applicable if it's a community-based knowledge.
I think it's applicable. Is that what you just said?
Applicable.
Applicable. This is
Oh,
is
you
why
did
big
it, buddy.
words.
Good job.
Okay. It's only applicable if like it's for the betterment of not just humanity but like existence or the world or something like that. I think that's true wisdom. I think that's like it's like having the capacity to understand how to apply things in life in a way where it's like beneficial to everyone in the world and yourself.
I think wisdom is that, but I also think it's not limited by the morality of does this help other people.
Explain.
What?
Explain.
So I think wisdom is not so much just, hey, can I utilize this knowledge to better other people? It's, can I utilize this knowledge effectively to better myself, someone else, or the community? Like it's not limited to just community. It's not like, hey, can I create something that will better the people? It's, hey, can I create something that will just make life better for someone? Whether that's me, whether that's someone else, whether that's a group of people. It's wisdom is the ability to manipulate that knowledge for someone's betterment.
I think I mostly agree with you. I think the difference is
You want to add some morality to
there's
it.
some morality I think to wisdom that is applicable to it, as opposed to like, all right, let's go into D&D for a second here. There's a reason that in D&D they changed a lot of the, I'm trying to think, like, you know, warlock, sorcerer, stuff like that. It's all charisma based, whereas like the cleric is wisdom based. You know, I think there's a reason they did that separation, and that's because with wisdom comes you know, quote unquote wholeness, righteousness, whatever you want to call it. Not self-righteous. There's a big difference there. But like this element of, it's not only is it the smart decision, but is the wise decision to do something that not only helps yourself, but helps other people as well. Whereas charisma, it's all about like, there's like a convincing of other people of like, hey, this would be better. This is the most beneficial thing, blah, blah, blah. Where it's like, it can be very self-centered in that way, where it's like, you can use what almost is wisdom in a way to where it's like manipulative instead of beneficial to them.
But unless it's actually wise, then it's just marketing. It's just manipulation.
Exactly, which is exactly what charisma is. That's like the almost the
Charisma
the
is
thin line.
marketing.
Charisma is marketing, which is like what wisdom would be if it was selfish.
So does it lack altruism?
Was define altruism.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Let's drink a bunch of whiskey and then talk about definitions later in the show.
What do you mean by that, though?
Well, altruism is the idea that it's, I think, for the greater good.
Yes, I think wisdom has to include some element of the greater good, an understanding of what that might be. That doesn't mean you don't get it wrong, but like, I want to say knowledge, but it's more than knowledge.
By the definition, altruism is the belief or the practice of disinterested and selfless concern for the well-being of others.
I would be careful too with that too, because I think there's so I come from Christian culture, and it's very easy to like accidentally get confused with putting others above yourself, where in reality, like the commandment is right. It's love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think you can't love and respect other people unless you love and respect yourself, because you have no anchor to like what that actually means to do that to other people. And you see it all the time, I think.
Well, if you think about it, and this is going into some psychology real quick, for those that typically try to be selfless in the sense of they don't think about themselves, they're only thinking about other people, oftentimes it's meant as a way of, can I care for someone else to the point that they'll care about me?
The difference there, and it kind of goes back into that, what did Uncle Iro say? This show is so wise, guys. It's that inner strength, right? It's that the difference is, do you have that inner knowledge that you are worthy? Mm-hmm. And when you're putting other people above yourself and taking care of them and doing that without the knowledge that you are worthy, that's not humility. That's just like shame and disgust and revulsion, and that's a very dangerous path to walk down. Having that sense of worth and caring about others, I think that is wisdom, where it's like you can love and respect yourself and love other people and live your life in a way, hopefully, it can benefit everyone.
Well, also, it doesn't matter what we think. So, listeners, if
That's
you
not
want to
true.
tell us what you think,
I could be
talk to
wrong.
us on social
I'm
media.
open.
Do you agree with Daniel? Do you not agree with Daniel? Do you think we're just not talking about Avatar enough? We can get back to Avatar. Let's get back
Sorry,
to Avatar.
I told you I'd get philosophical on this.
And I
I'm here
appreciate
for it.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
here for
I'm
it.
absolutely for that. Because like Washington's like, hey, like if you want to partake of knowledge, you have to provide knowledge. Give me something. And so you have like the professor providing this book that's actually first edition. You have, and it's actually interesting because it starts with like, ooh, super impressive, and just kind of works its way down to like, this is not
Because he's
impressive.
asking that if you want to enter this temple, you have to provide.
Well, because it's very much, if you want to partake of my knowledge, you have to provide knowledge in return. Like, it's not one of those things where you can just take, you also have to give, which is actually a pretty wise thing to offer. It's like, if you will provide for the betterment of other people, you can then partake of what people have tried to offer in betterment of everyone else. And so you had the professor offering this book, that's first edition. You have Katara offering a water bending scroll. You have Aang offering a lovely wanted poster of himself.
Sure.
And it's like, I guess this counts. And then you have Sokka is like, look, I've made a knot that looks like a butterfly. And I was like, you're not very smart, are you? You're not really bright, are you?
He doesn't say
Which
no,
is what
though.
Ty said to me about 5 minutes ago.
You're not really bright, are you?
Yeah. I feel Sokka's energy right now.
So they're going through, and Sean, this isn't going to hit you now, but it will later. And it's not a spoiler. I'm just being super careful
Anytime
about
someone
this.
goes, it's not a spoiler, and it pitches up, like if I said it's not a spoiler, that's
not a
fine. But if I go, if it's not a spoiler, so here we go. Let's be spoiled
All
together.
right. So in this episode, we see Aang ends up holding up a picture of a lion turtle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
it's adorable.
it's adorable.
That's Legend of Korra stuff, right?
I mean, you'll see in Legend of Korra, but also appears in this season as well.
Gosh, I can't wait to finish this whole season. There's so much I've forgotten. And I realized that through this watch through that, like, there's a lot of this that
Yeah,
some
this
reason has
holds
slipped my
up.
mind. Yeah.
Like when it came to Netflix, I rewatched it. I was like, oh, this brings back so many memories.
Yeah. Gosh. It's a good show.
Hey guys, I have a glass of Jefferson's Ocean.
What? You bitch. You gave us Henry McKenna and you had Jefferson's Ocean?
Will you let me finish? This glass represents our friendship, and that I filled it up, one glass that I will pass around. I filled it up at the break, not the beginning.
I apologize for my reaction.
And it will make it to Daniel and then back to me. Just kidding.
I say that only because of the fact that if
that's
you listen
good.
to the second episode of the season, you will have the reaction of when I was having the Jefferson's Ocean and Sean was like, did you finish my bottle?
And we're just going to pass it around.
Yeah, we're all about sharing.
we're all about sharing. That's all I wanted.
This is such a damn good whiskey, man.
It was all benevolent.
It was very benevolent. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's really what I need to say. Just thank you.
I may ambush you guys in other ways, but it won't ever be mean.
Like, we'll tie
Like,
Daniel's dick, but other than that.
Yeah, we'll tie Daniel's dick to the chair. Because good for him. Like, congrats.
I mean, it has to be tied down.
It has to be.
Otherwise.
And otherwise, what happens? Like, I mean, it turns into a sandworm. This is good because, like, the best part about what was happening here is the glass is being passed around, and both Ty and Daniel don't have the mic at that moment.
No, we have to, like, take turns.
So I have to do some stuff, and I'm like, cool, dick, sandworm, dick, sand dick. You're going to get philosophy from Ty and Daniel, but you'll get
jokes.
Sand dick jokes from me. So anyway, we have Jefferson's Ocean over here in the corner.
And it is phenomenal.
And enough for at least 1 to 2 more pass arounds.
Okay, we're totally
And
down for that.
I did it as a surprise for you, Ty.
Oh, thank you. Well, speaking of surprises, Sokka actually wanders off from the group and ends up finding this document that talks about the darkest day of the Fire Nation. And he wants to know what was the cause of the darkest day of the Fire Nation. And you end up finding this foxy knowledge seeker. Foxy knowledge seeker.
Foxy knowledge singer.
I've had a lot to drink. And it ends up taking him to what turns out to be a planetarium. And it's kind of fascinating. They had this kind of technology.
I love anything to do with stars, planets, anything like that. Have you
Yes.
seen the images from the new telescope?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Just stunning images of like different nebulas, and they're learning all kinds of things that we haven't even like fathomed before, with this. I'm sounding like I've had a bunch of whiskey and talking about
My face
nebulas,
is
but-
excitement. I am excited about this.
No, I'm very excited. They haven't. Well, the thing is, they've even said like they haven't even announced like the scientific knowledge that they discovered.
Yeah, because this is the James Webb Space Telescope that just came out, and it's outpacing
James Woods?
No, the James Webb.
I heard James Woods. I was like, please tell me this is not true.
That is not true. It's James Webb.
You know their goal with this telescope is, right? They want to look so far out into the universe. Okay, so keep in mind, there is a light speed, right? That's how they measure space, is how fast light travels. They want to go back so far that they can see literally the beginning of the universe. So, because light travels, and it takes a long time, so they want to look so far back that they're basically looking into the past, because it takes light that long to travel to where they can see the beginning of the universe. That's their whole goal with this telescope.
So that sounds like a movie plot that has not been explored, or has it?
I don't care about it being a movie plot. I want to.
really is
I want to hear.
fascinating.
I want to hear more
'Cause, like,
about this
from-
as the weeks come.
Because from a photography standpoint, it is hella fascinating because they're literally doing a open exposure shot to try and draw on all this light that's coming in, that's traveling hundreds of thousands of millions of light years ahead.
And Ty, open exposure is.
It's basically when instead of, so think about this shutter. Your shutter is how quick does your shot end? Does it take time for it? Like
How much light gets exposed to the image?
So like
is what
the
shutter
faster
controls.
your shutter speed is, the less light that comes in. So if it's a hella bright day, you want a higher shutter speed so that things don't look overblown. But if it's dark, if you're looking at nighttime photography, you want to have a very long exposure. So
Very
you have a
long.
very high or very low shutter speed. So Sean and Daniel are passing the vegan jerky, which is hella
dropped.
delicious. It's the Louis.
It's not what you think.
Okay, when I say jerky, I actually mean vegan jerky, not like they're jerking each other.
Also, if you hear hello one more time, you have to take the whole drink down.
Okay, the Louisville vegan jerky buffalo dill is delicious, and I didn't say hella, but that's fine. I just did. Fuck.
Anyway,
That's 4.
They took a picture that's literally okay. They said if you stretched out your arm and held out a grain of sand, that's how much this image captured. And there's literally in the picture like thousands of galaxies in this shot.
Like when they compare it to what the Hubble Space Telescope had captured years before, it is astounding how much crisper and how much more it's gathering.
That's the fun part. Okay, going back to the library, since we picked this episode, it's like knowledge is useful in that sense to create that sense of awe and wonder, kind of like what I talked about with the films that I like to make. It's like realize like how beautiful the world is, how intricate the world is, how detailed the world is. You know, it just gives you like this sense of like hope, wonder, awe, discovery. I think like I love living with that. Aang captures a lot of that spirit to me, which is why I love that show.
Sokka does too to a point.
Sokka does to that point. What I love about Sokka is like he really is like, they joke about it in the Jet episode where he's kind of like the leader, but he really is in a lot of ways. He kind of keeps the group on task. He kind of keeps the group focused. He really is. He's a good example of like, he's not very wise, but he is very smart. You know, he's smarter than people give him credit for, where he's able to use strategy and tactics and things like that to really kind of help keep this group together and cohesive and, you know, accomplishing their goals.
Speaking of tactics, so he ends up going to the planetarium and they find the dates of the Fire Nation's darkest day. And it turns out it was a solar eclipse. So when they have this solar eclipse, the Fire Nation loses their ability to firebend.
Which was an interesting epiphany, right? Because what happens in the Siege of the North?
So you find out that during the night, when they don't have the sun, they're not as strong, and the Water Nation is able to be stronger. But when the rising sun comes, that's when Fire Nation starts to have more power. So it was less about like, hey, someone's not able to use their power, and more so of just it waxes and wanes as a balanced society should work. But in here, it's just immediately you have lost things. So as soon as the moon god had been murdered by Admiral Zhao, the Water Nation lost their ability to waterbend.
Gosh,
with the solar eclipse.
That whole character is like a beautiful example of like deep lore working so well, but also like, what's that character's name? The girl he falls in love with? That's the moon spirit now.
Oh, the princess.
Princess Zue, I think.
Anyway, she's both like, okay, if you were to like look at the dialogue written out on paper as it is, it's like one of the most shallow characters you've ever seen.
Yue, it's Princess Yue.
Where it's just like, no, I can't. It's forbidden by my culture, blah, blah, blah. So it's like,
I'm already engaged.
It's silly like that. But
then,
yeah, I don't know. This whole story of like her becoming the moon spirit because the moon healed her in the past and a little bit of the moon lives in her. I don't know. It kind of gives like Sokka like this pain that drives him, also this love that drives him at the same time, which we see semi-spoiler in later episodes. It gives him a lot of trouble in the future as far as like finding love again, because he always sees the moon in the sky and he always knows like that's like his ex-love looking down on him, basically.
That's kind of rough. It's like, hey, I know we were in love, but then you died, so now you're my ex-love. I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
I mean, that's rough, buddy.
It adds layers to him, though. That's a way that is interesting.
It honestly does. But we're talking about stuff that Shauna hasn't seen, so I'm going to go ahead and cut back to the episode.
I don't know what's going on.
Oops.
I'm just over here in the corner.
So Sokka's got information. He goes, we can take this to the Earth Kingdom. We can beat the Fire Lord. And that's when you find out that Wan Shi Tong is right behind them. And he goes, I knew it. Y'all are terrible liars. I knew it. Like, he's disappointed, but not surprised.
Daniel, describe what Wan Shi Tong looks like.
He's a giant owl, basically. But what's cool was like when he goes into battle mode, he looks like an owl dragon.
Yes.
Which is like some of the coolest art I've ever seen, I think, just period. Like an owl dragon? How cool is that?
So like I first saw this, we're recording this in July. I saw this 2 days before today.
I watched this episode today.
The first time. Your first
Not the
watch
first time.
through. Like, but I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, this is... I do not want to get captured by this owl dragon.
All right, here's
because he immediately was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and take my knowledge back. So he ends up trying to sink the rest of the library so no one could ever come in.
No, when was the first time you saw this, though?
Oh, I saw
this.
this. Ooh, this would have been the first time it came out. So this would have been
Like
7th
07?
grade, 6th grade, something like that for me. Yeah, it is pretty terrifying. I am very curious what you guys think about this. Where do you land on Wang Shi Tong.
So this came out July 14th of 2006.
Yeah, it definitely would have been hardcore.
I
Was it
would have
middle
been
school?
a junior in high school.
Yeah, maybe but junior in high school, 2006.
Yeah, I graduated in 07.
I would have been freshman or sophomore, I guess then.
Oh, you're so young.
I guess I would have been a senior.
My
'Cause
question is,
here I
where
am
do you
on the
land
senior
with the
podcast.
owl, though? Do you agree with him?
Well, here's the beautiful thing. So I kind of agree with the owl because you have Aang who is like, look, I'm just trying to protect the ones I love. And he goes, do you think you're the only one who ever found justification in their war? Like he literally points out, it's like everyone who goes on a war thinks they're justified to take these horrendous actions.
Yeah.
It is very much, he is not seeing nuances. He is seeing just facts. Everyone who has started the war thought they were justified for some reason. And it was atrocious. So instead of letting this happen over and over and over again because humans keep disappointing me, I'm going to take my knowledge back. And that's when he is like, you guys can't even escape because you know too much.
Okay, so this is the perspective of the owl.
Yes, the owl's like, y'all keep using my knowledge instead of bettering society to tear each other down.
So where do you stand?
I understand the owl's perspective of wanting to provide knowledge to help better people, but then seeing people utilize that knowledge to, instead of bettering society, to tearing people down.
So
I understand, and I personally agree. If people are just going to utilize their knowledge to destroy each other, it's better they don't even have that knowledge.
So he's been, we'll use the word traumatized by humans' knowledge or power or seeking knowledge. Right?
Had bad experiences with it.
He's
at
had
least.
some very bad experiences with humans just really taking advantage of this library, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at some point, he's got to blame himself. As like, I kept providing this knowledge, and people use it to destroy people. If this knowledge wasn't here, they would never have done this.
but do we agree with his perspective?
Because I understand where he's coming from, I agree with his perspective. I don't agree that it was always going to be like that, but he kept seeing people utilize knowledge. I mean, think about, like, you can talk about our society now. You can talk about World War II, where you had people using knowledge to create the atom bomb.
This whole episode basically is the World War II argument.
Yeah.
Of like, was the nuclear bomb
Justified.
Was it
justified?
necessary? Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt justified, but the atrocities it brought with it are something that we're still dealing with the repercussions today.
Yeah. I think that's kind of still that's the whole debate of the Cold War, basically. And even still a little bit of a debate today is like, is nuclear weapons and nuclear power a good thing or a bad thing in our society? Obviously, worst case scenario is awful. Yeah, I think I see where the owl is coming from.
Wan Shitong.
Wang Shitong. I see where Wang Shitong is coming from. I think the only thing that he forgets, or she or they, whatever they identify with, is that I think knowledge is not necessarily the problem. It's the humans the problem. It's like,
And that's what he sees.
And that's what he sees.
My knowledge is being mishandled by humans. I'm going to remove it from humans.
I think the problem, though, is like whether that technology is there or not. Okay, so the problem with knowledge is like when each side is collecting it, it kind of stacks up and escalates like that, right? It just kind of stacks on top of each other. It's like, even if, let's see how I say this when it comes out of my mouth. Even if nuclear weapons didn't exist, there would be still the same amount of destruction because humans are still on an equal playing field, and humans are almost willing to kill each other the same amount as if that makes any sense. It might take a little longer. But
I disagree with the original statement, but then you followed up. I was like, people would try to kill as many people as they could if they didn't have the atomic bomb, but having the atomic bomb allowed them to kill more quickly.
Yeah. Now, there is an argument to be made because so many people have nuclear weapons right now. It's kind of created like this like weird peaceful stalemate that's kind of interesting, where it's like technically speaking, from a statistical standpoint, as well as anecdotal, the most peaceful time, technically, that we've ever had in human history. But it's all because we're pointing giant guns at each other, going like, hey, are you going to fire first? Am I going to fire first? You know?
If you pull the trigger, we're going to have all these more guns going after you. Like, yeah.
Which is interesting. It's an interesting predicament to be in, where it's like...
But that doesn't
But the
allow
problem
for
is, it's
growth.
like, we all have a gun
Everyone's
pointing at each
sitting
other.
in anxiety.
Yeah, we all have
So
a gun
no one's
pointing at each
trying to
other going
actually
like, but if
better.
anyone fires the gun, it kills everybody. It's less a gun, more of a bomb. Well, I mean, bomb. That sounds
See,
funny.
that's why everyone should focus on pie. Because you throw a pie and then someone else throws a pie, then it's just all delicious.
I know.
So if we all just had pies, like,
Yeah.
Ty, if you could teach us
Pie
how
pie.
to cook pies, maybe.
Done. Maybe I need to do a drunk pie making class.
Sean, what do you think about this? Where do you sit with the owl?
Mostly pie. Actually, I sit in the same realm. There it is. There it is. There it is. We may have had the most whiskey in this episode.
You think so?
I mean,
Well-
I've had two glasses of whiskey.
We don't
I've
have an
had
intern anymore.
two cocktails.
We fired our intern.
And I'm on my third glass of whiskey.
I honestly wish we had more cocktails.
We'll make more.
They were delicious.
This is great news. It's gonna happen.
I really, really enjoyed that cocktail, Ty.
I want to ask you a philosophical question, and it might be too political, so you can tell me, no, go fuck off.
Fuck off. Sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think knowledge is the key for growth, or do you think it's because of the ability to utilize knowledge poor or for bad or for whatever wrong decision, that knowledge is not the key for growth?
It's kind of like...
Can you fix the world's problems, Daniel?
Okay, so you know the part, I forget which episode it was. I want to say it's Bitter Work, where it's Iroh teaching Zuko how to channel lightning, right?
Okay.
Where he's going through the different elements and explaining how each one is like, different, but has its, unique strength.
You can learn their strengths and then your own form.
Exactly. I think knowledge is an element of humans succeeding, if that makes any sense.
But it takes a great bender to be able to utilize it in their own form.
Exactly. And that's what wisdom is. It's like how to
Ooh, we brought it
apply
full circle.
how to apply all those elements together to the beneficial of not just yourself but humanity in general. I think that's the key to how we get out of the mess, I guess, that humanity's in and move forward in a way where it's not just positive for yourself, but positive for everybody.
Well,
and yourself has to be included in that too. I think that really is key.
Well, let's talk about how they get out of this mess. So they are trying to flee Wan Shi-tong, and Sokka's like, no, we can't leave yet. We got to find out when the next solar eclipse is.
God damn it.
I know, man.
He should have done this in Act 1.
But the problem, no, it needed to be, okay, in Act 1 of this episode, you're right. It would have been Act 2. He should have said that before. He was like, we could take this to the Earth Kingdom. Like, he should have found that out first.
The owl did show up though, right then. And
Yeah,
there.
but Sokka, he only showed up because Sokka was talking about taking down the Fire Lord.
Yeah, I
If
guess
he
yelling
would have kept
about
his
it.
mouth shut.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, well, when's the next solar eclipse? And then it's like, oh, well, now we have the information we need. So while Katara has to try and fend off Wan Shi-tong by herself, Aang and Sokka are trying to figure out when the next solar eclipse is, and they find the date. And that's when Wan Shi-tong corners Katara, and he's like, your waterbending won't help you here. I studied the Southern Water Tribe, the Northern Water Tribe, the Swamp Tribe.
Okay, but the Swamp Tribe.
I mean, they were building
I
fucking
love the
swamp monsters.
I love the
have-
Swamp Tribe. I really do.
They're great, but up until this point, like, come on, we didn't see anything remarkable from them.
The speedboats are pretty dope.
Yeah, the speedboats and then the swamp monster. That was pretty impressive. To be able to utilize the aquatic light to pull the water out of plants and make a monster to attack. That's impressive.
Is this a good opening to talk about the American influence in this show?
Not
Yeah.
yet. Let me finish.
Okay.
And then
At the
we can
way,
get because I feel like I'm acting like Sean, where it's like, no, I gotta get this idea out, otherwise it's not gonna sound
I
great.
get it. Just remind me because I'll forget what I was talking about.
So at this point, when he's like, you can't fight me with your water bending because I know all the bending styles, that's when Sokka is dropped from the air glider with Aang and whacks him with his own, with Wan Shi-tong's own book, and knocks him out. He goes, well, that's called Sokka style. And that's when they're able to escape. And we can continue on after Daniel shares about the American influence.
Okay, so all right, swamp people. Okay. There's a lot of Western references in this show.
Okay.
Obviously, which if you go to like Akira Kurosawa and all that stuff, they were very influenced by Westerns and American cinema and things like that, which kind of played into Eastern cinema with movies like Ran and Seven Samurai and things like that, which also fed back into Western cinema. So there's kind of like there's a weird relationship with cinema with like Eastern and Western styles of movie making, basically, which we kind of see acclimate into this show as well. So like Soka alone is like the perfect example of like a Western, basically, where you have this outsider who has these certain set of skills that may or may not apply really to the society in a way, almost representing the wild in a way. But it's like it almost takes like a master of the wild to like instigate, you know, a functioning society, if that makes any sense. So like it takes someone standing up and using their skills into, you know, to take out the bully and things like that. So that's like very Western. But like the swamp episode, for example, the reason I picked the riverboat, which is like it has like this element of like
Florida.
Well, it has this, like, you know, there's the punk dope thing, which, like, I think you get, like, hints of, like, in, like, the Canyon episode, right? With the earthbender that guides them through, basically, the Grand Canyon. I don't know how else you describe it, but...
Yeah, he was basically the guide.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like this like, while that culture can have some issues, it's like it has a rich lore to it, or like a sense of depthness to it that's very interesting that they were able to take and apply to the show, which you kind of feel in the Swamp People itself, where it's like there's this oral history of, hey, we're kin, you know, it's like you feel the depth of it. Whereas maybe they don't know their history per se exactly, but it's like there's something about that cultural aspect of it that where you just like you feel like the richness of, you know, the water tribe and, you know, how it ventured off into these different things and things like that. So that's what I mean by the American influence, I guess, is
That's
that
fair. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
which is what something I love about the show is it's both very inspired by anime, and which I think anime is like probably one of the most realistic depictions of animation that we have, other than like, you know, Renaissance paintings and stuff, which is like impossible to do in an animation style.
Well, so they have that, but what I also really love is that it's not so much that they are depicting Asian animation. They're depicting Asian culture
Yeah.
and Asian philosophy.
Are any of the creators Asian? That's something I always
The
wanted to know.
creators are not Asian, but what they ended up doing is that the animation studio was based in Korea, South Korea. So they were utilizing a Korean studio to animate this show.
That's fascinating. Were they using that studio the entire time, or just for Earth 2 and 3?
I believe it was the
Or
entire
book
time.
2 and 3. Okay. Because it did seem like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like book 1, for some reason, viewing back on it this time around for this episode, it felt like they were trying a lot of different things to me. Like it wasn't consistent. Whereas like book 2, it was like the animation was not only consistent, but it was like you really saw like how amazing the bending was in that season.
From what I understand, and I'm going to say that most of my knowledge is based on the Bending the Elements podcast, which is the voice of Korra as well as Zuko. So Dante Bosco and Janet Varney do this wonderful podcast where they're going through the episodes of this show. And from what I've understood, it's always been this Korean studio. And so it could very well be that they finally found their groove of what was really working for the show.
It just really found like they found their groove to me.
Well, yeah,
in this
because
viewing.
typically, because I would say that once they got to the Northern Water Tribe, they were finally getting to their groove of really just telling this beautiful story that is culturally challenging and growing.
Because what I'll say about book 1 is like it was like the episodes were like hit and miss for me, at least this time around viewing it, where it was like one episode nailed it, really felt like the spirit of what I remember Avatar being, and then the next one it was like, oh, this is a waster episode where nothing really happens.
You thought it was a filler.
Yeah, it was like you definitely felt the fillerness of the filler episodes. Whereas like so far through book 2, it's like every episode has had not only just like impact, but you felt like the rawness and the philosophy and just like it's like everything just really came and meshed. When I watched it, it was like, oh, this is what I remember Avatar being, was like this like.
You could make an argument that season 1 was their chance to really figure out and flesh out what the show was, and they needed those filler episodes episodes to really episodes.
These shows are basically
These shows.
These
very
episodes
fat,
are brought to you by
very short.
episodes.
They're short episodes, but they're girthy.
These girthy episodes were meant to grow. And so even if it was just a quote-unquote filler episode, it still shared something that allowed growth and allowed a chance. So once they actually got to that season finale where they're dealing with the Northern Water Tribe, and that's a beautiful 2 episodes for me.
Yeah.
I felt like that's when they had their groove. And then they were able to go into season 2, and they were locked and loaded.
Yeah,
they were ready.
That one felt like there's definitely some, I think, like there's like a few misses for me here and there in those episodes, but it's like it felt the most whole of what I remember Avatar being. Misses in the sense of like, I don't know if they've like added some writers or something to it, but it's like some of the dialogue felt kind of shallow to me through some of those recent episodes, or in those episodes, whereas like in book 2 it felt like there were just layers and layers and stuff of what was happening. Like the lore was so rich and what was happening was so rich, and the emotion was really genuine with the characters of what was happening, that like some of those dialogue misses was forgivable for the most part. That's just something I've noticed recently in this most recent viewing, at least, where it's like book 1, it's still strong as a show, but it's like the production value and the story value compared to book 2 has just been like astronomically a huge difference for me experiencing it this time around.
Well, speaking of emotional growth, emotional like just charge, when we get here, this is when you find out that the Sandbenders have come for Appa. They are trying to capture him. And they finally, like Toph is trying to protect Appa. And Sean, of course, is like, no, don't talk about this. It's going to make me cry. And I'm like, I'm going to cry too. I'm going to cry with you, buddy. Like literally, they are able to pin Appa down. And Toph can't protect him because she can't see through the sand. The sand makes everything hazy. And they take him off, and that's when Aang and the gang come out, and he's like, "Where's Appa?" And Toph bows her head in shame,
Which you've never really seen.
Yeah,
at this point.
she's never been in a case where it's
her first
failed.
failure.
This is her first failure, absolutely. And that's when we find Aang just heartbroken that Appa's gone.
He's failed before, but this was a close. This is how the episode ends.
Imagine if someone just stole Ziggy.
There would be bloodshed. I would be so angry. So the fact that they had a special called the Fury of Aang.
I'm not trying to feel that right now, but I'll tap into that. I will tap into that.
I would feel the same way if someone like stole Biscuit. I would be on a war path.
And Biscuit is
Biscuit's my pup.
If someone took Kenneth, I would be so pissed. I would be on such a rampage.
So recap: Kenneth is
my quirky Jack Russell mix.
Ziggy is
Sean's husky.
Biscuit is
Daniel's
Golden
Labradoodle?
Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle.
Yeah. So, but like for example, with that's so universal, right? Most of us in the world have had some kind of pet of some sort, but I guarantee you, as like this plays out, like the layers that they've added to it is like along the journey, along the lore.
This isn't just a pet, though.
All this stuff.
Like Appa has been Aang's friend.
Very true. It's, and I would even argue like Biscuit's a pet, obviously, but like,
well, Kenneth is my friend,
and even Ziggy is quote unquote your pet,
tread lightly,
right?
Tread lightly.
But it's like it's more than a pet, right? It's like there's. Like, you know their personality, you know them, you have a connection with them. It's like,
I'll put it this way. If Ziggy is in the corner with one of my very good friends and they take Ziggy away, I'm going to be sadder than if my other friend survives.
it's like your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very fair. I definitely think that the reason why I'm not as protective as Teddy is because Kenneth was my first kid.
Uh-oh.
Ty, listen.
Hot takes.
If you put
Did you
Kenneth,
just say you love your pet more than you love your own?
No,
son?
I'm just
we
saying
have already
that
established
because
that he
I've already
does.
gone
No, this is
through the
okay.
first
This is okay.
child,
This is true.
I am now
This is so
yes.
true.
Okay.
There's no
Yes.
judgment here.
Okay.
But,
yes.
but no, like Kenneth, I love Teddy, absolutely. But I also love Kenneth. Like, he is very much my first fur child.
Here's a fun question I have for Sean.
Teddy, I'm like, he's gonna be fine if some stuff goes on. It's not like I'm like helicoptering, want to make sure everything's perfect, because I've already tried to do that with my dog. I'm like, he just ended up spoiled, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna love on my child like my dog. That's not gonna change. But I'm not going to be concerned that every little thing is going to ruin his ability
Sean,
to be.
I have to ask you this question.
Ask.
And you have to be 100% honest.
I will try. I
What
will.
sounds more like a dog's name, Teddy or Kenneth?
Teddy.
So to be
Teddy.
fair,
Obviously. It's definitely Teddy.
to be fair, there's Kenneth the Page and Theodore Rex. Teddy Rex, T-Rex, or Kenny.
Would you be more likely to name your dog T-Rex or Kenneth?
I'm going to give you the answer you want. And it's also the truth answer. Truth answer? Listen, Ty, if you and Ziggy were sitting...
I think
In a
Kenneth
corner?
is your real child and Teddy is your pet. Hot take.
You know what? That's a good
he's
hot
already
take.
he's
I
already
appreciate
made that. You've already made that distinction though. Like that's not new. Like yeah, Teddy is your pet. Yeah.
We're learning all kinds of things on the show, and I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
It's a
Not only I expected to learn things about myself, but I learned more about Ty than myself on this episode, which I really appreciate.
it's been a fun episode.
This
Oh
has
my
been
god.
fun.
Yeah.
How we finished the summary?
We did.
No, that's
we did.
it. We did it. We finished.
We did it.
We did it.
Okay.
And you just dropped your bugles
Drop my bugles.
I did not know bugles were still
around.
No, I thought they were extinct. Like
Nope, those are still a thing.
I didn't have a chance to make it. Ty doesn't let me
I
do
knew.
punchlines.
I knew you were having something, but you were like, I can't remember what it's supposed to be called. I'm just going to give you the answer.
The good news is
I'll pick those up later, I promise.
The good news is Ty's going to pick those up right now with his own ending of the episode.
So, real quick before we go, Daniel, where can people follow you?
If you want to find me online, so I am a filmmaker, writer, director. So you can find my work. I just actually technically have opened a new production company called Goody Goody. You know, kind of
Goody goody.
Goody Goody. 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 That's how you would spell that. Not IE. I just wanted to be specific. But you can find my work there. GoodyGoody.com. You can find all my films. Mirror and Writer's Block, which Ty mentioned. And then I also have In the Dead of Light, which is, at the time of this recording, coming out very soon. I don't know how you want me to word that, Sean. We can rephrase that however you want to. But yeah, I have all kinds of films coming. More films even coming sooner than that, or after that as well. But yeah, you can check that out there as well. And if you want to find me on Instagram, at Daniel Hamby Film is the best way probably to follow me.
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us, man.
I had a lot of fun. I want to give you one more Iro quote.
Do it.
I would love to end this quote. Actually, can we do this Iro quote and then we'll say our 2 words?
Sure.
This quote comes from Bitter Work, which is literally the episode before the library, which I thought was just great. One thing I love about the episode is that Zuko tries to make Iro tea, and it's awful. And when Zuko's not looking, Iro just throws it like behind him, like all casual style, which is pretty funny. But Zuko's like coming to terms with like, you know, the shame that he's carrying, and he thinks the antidote of that is like, I think pride is when you ignore shame, basically. But anyway, this is a quote from Iro. Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame.
Well, with all humility, I gotta say, I love you guys, and bottoms up.